Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the final day of World Chess FIDE Grand Prix Berlin, final day of the entire Grand Prix series.
Yes, indeed. How's it going, Miro? How are you doing?
Well, everything's fine. Not sure what to expect after yesterday's quiet draw, but today, do they want to play? Do they don't want to play? We don't care, really. I mean, they will have to battle it out. Who's the winner? As we've already mentioned, there is no intrigue in terms of like who's going to qualify. There is no longer an intrigue about who's going to win the entire Grand Prix series. The only question remains who will emerge as the winner in Berlin here on the third leg. So Wesley saw against Hikaru Nakamura, Hikaru having the white pieces in game 1, and we are talking tiebreak match of 2 15+10 games to start with.
Yeah, I was actually discussing on my stream earlier about what the results could be. I mean, it'll be exciting to see. I don't know if we had a Blitz playoff yet in the Grand Prix at all.
Well, we did. Yeah. Keima and Mamedyarov had a blitz, right? So when Mamedyarov won game 1, then Keima equalized it, and yeah. And they've played the blitz.
All right, I wasn't on the broadcast
that
day.
I'm trying to think of the other one, and I don't think we had any, interestingly enough. Yeah, so it must have been the only one, unless I'm kind of missing something big time, but yeah, this seems to be the only one blitz. And we haven't had an Armageddon still. Yeah, so the Armageddon, perhaps you guys at home already know what it is, but yeah, so the tiebreak structures. So first we have 15+10 games in case of a tie, and that's quite likely, I have to say, with both players not only being very solid, but also having a lot of respect to each other, it seems, right? At least judging by the classical games. So if it's 1-1, then we proceed to play the blitz portion, which is once again 2 games match, this time with 3 minutes plus 2 seconds time control. And if this one is still tied, there is no further, wanted to say increment, but it's kind of decrease in a in a time limit, right? So they do not play bullet or ultra bullet, whatever. They play the so-called Armageddon game or sudden death game, where you have white has 1 extra minute, but black has draw odds. So basically, if the game is draw, then black wins. And therefore, in one game, you decide the destiny of the match.
Okay.
All right, so 5...
Yeah, I think it's this... if they do end up going to the Armageddon, it'll be the first time me seeing this after 60 moves, there's increments. So,
yeah.
Very, very curious to see if this will happen.
Yeah, well, but first of all, they'll have to tie the Rapid and Blitz and also survive to move 60, right? Because some people, I remember, not making it to move 60 in the Armageddon game. I think it was World Cup when, you know, you have a lot of matches, so inevitably something goes on to the tiebreak, something goes on all the way to Armageddon games, and then you know, this knowledge of having an increment by move 60, but you do not really keep track of how many moves you've played. And you end up, say, with 20 seconds after move 20, and then it sounds almost impossible, and perhaps it is impossible to make it to the increment. But yeah, but that's prospect is, for the time being, far, far away. So, well, literally 4 games away, 4 drawn games away, or maybe, you know, someone wins and then the other guy levels the score. Well, Hikaru this time with a cup of tea and yeah, first to arrive.
Yes.
So now, yeah, now it's very serious and no more quick draws. Doesn't make any sense, right? To make a draw. with white, because you'll have another game with black, and yeah. Anyway, I mean, you'll have to play out today.
Yeah, there must be some special.
Yeah.
That must be some special kind of tea. I mean, he looks very calm, he looks ready for the day, and now we're just waiting for Wesley So to arrive.
Yeah, well, I actually wonder if, like, to play the rapid and especially the blitz, one would prefer to be calm or, you know, excited. So that's remains to be seen. Maybe we will have once again, you know, the heart rates of the players. Well, for the rapid portion, it makes a lot of sense, of course. All right, few more minutes before the start, so quickly sponsors ads and coming back with the first moves. Yeah, Wesley arrives to the board, but still, I believe we have a couple of minutes. And it's not Wesley, that's an arbiter. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so we'll be back after a very short break.
Hi, I'm Vidit Gujarati. I'm 27 years old, an international chess grandmaster from India. I'm also the brand ambassador for FIDE Online Arena. It's a place where you can play for online rating and online titles which can be recognized by FIDE officially. I feel chess is a sport which can be definitely played online, which other sports don't enjoy the luxury of. And the most important thing is that you can play from the comfort of your home, be it any time, against strong players all around the globe. And since the past 2 years, we have seen a boom in online chess. And be it for professional players or for people who have just started, I think it provides a great opportunity. In the next few months, I'll be streaming and playing games on the FIDE Online Arena. So be a part of it, and who knows, maybe we'll end up playing a game with each other. See you soon on the FIDE Online Arena.
Yep, and here they are. Wesley So arrived to the board as well. Let's see how this is going to be played out. Yeah, I think we've discussed it already. Wesley being not an easy target when it comes to the rapid chess, you know, him being very strong player as well. And yeah, different approaches, I must say, because Hikaru has, you know, kind of, he adjusts the style a lot when it comes to rapid. He changes the opening repertoire very often when it comes to rapid, right? Wesley being more of a conservative player, so for the rapid portion, it's very likely that he'll, you know, just try to play chess, basically, try to play solid moves, try to equalize with black first before trying anything funny. So
I was wondering if we were going to see the Vienna there with f4 when he played knight c3.
No, I don't think it works on a higher level. No, but that one is a bit surprising, I have to say. Knight c3, knight f6, bishop c4, because you allow the capture on e4. you allow a capture on e4, and that's, that's... I'm not sure why Hikaru would go for it. It's not bad at all, but it also kind of doesn't give any chance for an advantage, in my opinion. So after bishop c4, knight takes e4, and then, yeah, obviously the point is if you capture, it's d5. The line was queen h5, white attacking f7, like a Skolus mate, yeah, but this time it is actually annoying because you can't play g6, there is queen e5, and so on and so on. Knight goes to d6, bishop goes to b3. And then there used to be a very sharp line starting with knight c6 where, white goes knight b5 and kind of tries to deflect the knight, and you cannot protect f7 with the queen because knight c7, and it goes on and on. Like black goes g6, black goes f5, after queen d5, once again having the same threat, black finally goes queen e7, you win the rook, and after b6 it's one crazy position because the queen is in the center.
This looks like Aroni and Dominguez again.
Yeah, the queen's in the center, bishop b7, white's gonna lose a lot of tempi. I mean, I'm not sure what's the evaluation nowadays, right? But kind of a drawback of playing this with white is that black actually has bishop e7, which is a very solid move, and you have to take on e5 and black castles, and that's basically
looks uncomfortable.
Nothing for white at all. Yeah, bishop f6 later on, and so on. Yeah. Anyway, black has played bishop c5, and a few more moves were played. Bishop c5, d3, c6, opting for an early.
I was sort of thinking that white was going to try and play f4 at some stage.
But
like knight e2, f4 at some stage.
How do you do it? I mean, it's d5 you have to watch out for all the time. Yeah. So like it's basically a reoccurring motif in that kind of in white's attempt to play f4, like as much as like you could meet f4 with d5, and that's Falkberg counter gambit, right? To the queen's gambit, king's gambit, pardon. Then Vienna with f4, the strongest move for black is d5, right? And then on each and every move, basically, like after d3, c6 prepares d5, queen e2 castles, and then once again f4 is very likely to be met with d5 because you have a queen on e2, so it's not in your interest to open the e file.
The e4,
So ends up playing knight f3, and then it's a really strange setup, I have to say. Just think of it. What does it look like? It looks, let me tell you, it looks like a gioco piano reversed, with reversed colors.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's white who played bishop c4, c3, So it's
with an extra move.
Yeah, exactly. So colors reversed, and an extra tempo for white. White pretends to be black in gioco piano and has an extra tempo, but he spent it on queen d1 to e2, which I'm not sure is in your best interest, because very often the knight would go to e2 and g3, right? Like black.
I was wondering where the c knight goes if you want to play c3, d4 at some stage. But also the queen is on the e file, and you mentioned having the queen on the e file. You don't exactly want to open up the e file anytime soon.
Yeah, so I wonder if it's just not better for black already, or at least slightly better. So after knight f3, b5 and d6, so once again resembles a lot the gioco piano thing. And then once again with the queen on d1 and let's say castle instead, d3, d4 would be a decent move, being as it is. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Okay, it's not terrible. Queen e2, right? You can play bishop e3 and take with the queen, for instance. So once again, it's not a disaster yet. But white has no business playing for an advantage for sure, and might even be slightly worse already. So the opening surprise didn't really work out, if there was any intention to surprise early in the opening. And also,
go ahead.
I just wanted to say that Vasily is quite familiar with those positions. He practically never, I think he never played it with white, but he has played obviously a lot of this with black. So he knows what white is supposed to be doing, right? I mean, once again, it's a lot of confusion because I'm referring to Wesley's position as white's position, even though the color of his pieces is black, right? But
That's
perhaps,
true. Yeah,
perhaps we understand. Yeah, I mean, it is confusing, but basically what I'm trying to say that, yeah, imagine that's exactly it, right? Bishop c5, d3, d6, c3, knight f6, b4, bishop goes, castles, and castles, knight d2. So imagine black playing queen e7 and bishop g4, and we have a mirror position with, you know, that kind of pieces being repainted, but exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we have. The bishop to g5.
Right. Yeah, no, the question I was going to ask was from chat, and it was an opening question. So what is the significance of knight f3 compared to knight c3? And I think I'm not sure what you mentioned, you said it was sort of uncommon to play knight c3 on move 2 compared to knight f3?
Well, I mean, relatively,
not as common, rather.
It's relatively rare, right? It's a different line, simply.
Yeah.
So first thing first, it does not attack the e5 pawn, so black has kind of more liberty developing his pieces. Like in comparison with second knight f3, strangely enough, you do create a threat on move 2, right? So if black like completely ignores, you'll just take the pawn. So the difference is, you're absolutely right when you said a white would be looking for a 4. It's just that in our game it never happened, right? This kind of comfortable moment never happened. But indeed, yeah, very often knight c3, bishop c4, d3 in some order is played to prepare f4 and only then develop the g1 knight.
Okay.
And
so this knight has found a different route, knight d1,
knight d1, knight
probably
d3,
knight f5,
knight d1, knight d3. Well, after h6, the question is, where do you go? Well, apparently you'll try.
I was looking at e3, because now if the bishop captures, you have that tempo with the knight.
Yeah, well, but black won't capture. Black will try to find kind of useful moves and wait for white to capture, right? And then, obviously, it's much easier to find useful moves having, you know, the pieces in a harmonious way, not the knight on d1. I mean, you could say, yeah, like if black takes, white wins the tempo by capturing on e3 with the knight. If white takes, black obviously wins the tempo, he captures on c5 with the knight. But then, if we think logically, what's easier, finding kind of useful in-between moves with black, who has so far everything more or less nicely developed, or finding, you know, moves when your knight is on d1. It's not that easy, right?
I was looking at knight h4, or like knight d2 or something, but knight h4, knight f5 was nice.
Yeah.
But although maybe with knight h4, there's also knight takes e4, so I wasn't sure about that.
Knight h4 would be tricky. I won't say it doesn't work, because, you know, you never know in such cases. Like knight e4.
That's true.
I mean, okay, let me see. Knight h4, knight e4 is an attempt to refute it, right? So if the pawn takes, there is queen h4, white simply loses a pawn. But in such cases, you have a few typical reactions. I mean, one of them being something along the lines of queen h5, trying to guard the knight and attack f7 at the same time. I don't know if it works. Well, it might. Then the other one is, very often what happens is white going knight f5, simply. And then when you move, right, because now the knight on e4 is hanging, and also counterattack on f5 knight doesn't really work, because I'm capturing on e4, protecting the e5 knight. And when you move the knight, then, I don't think it works once again in this position, but something like bishop takes h6, you know, pawn takes, and then a knight takes on f7, and so on and so on. So those are kind of typical ideas to meet knight e4 with. Well, in our case, Hikaru went c3 and saw...
Somehow, the engine really didn't like the c3 move. I mean, it went down to like minus 2.5 or something of the likes.
Okay. Well,
I just wasn't sure what it was.
Perhaps because of bishop a6, and now e4 is actually hanging, right? Because the d3 pawn is pinned. And also,
so would you then be forced to take on c5?
But then I'm not sure if you have the move after that, because wait a second.
Where's the move?
He went queen e2. I mean that software needs to be needs to be retailored.
It was funny.
Retailored somehow. So bishop takes, knight takes, and then the bishop's hanging, d3 is hanging, and e4 is hanging in case of bishop c2, right?
Okay.
So if you go bishop c2, I believe black includes b3. Pushes the bishop to b1, and then knight e4 wins the pawn, but very likely d5 wins the game in a couple of moves, because the center is about to open, and you have the knight on d1, bishop on b1.
That looks a bit rough.
Yeah. So bishop c5 doesn't really work, and then d5 once again. I mean, apart from knight takes e4, d5 is always a motif. So Hikaru has played queen c2 and bc3. Trade has happened. So now I wonder what's the follow-up's gonna be.
Yeah, for a few moves, the engine really liked this d5 move, as you mentioned. With bishop a6, it did hold attention. Looks like Hikaru did play queen c2 and so on. But I was wondering why he didn't take with a knight on c3. Was it just to keep this option open of playing d4?
Knight c3, well, maybe it was possible, but once again, the whole point of like going to d1, and he went to d1 because he was pushed away, right? But the knight on c3 is restricted with the c6 pawn, right? So it kind of implies that you are ready to play more moves with this knight. So you will probably go to like e2, g3 later on. So it might be quite time-consuming operation. And also, let's not forget there might be some forced lines like takes and knight c5, and if you don't have anything better than bishop c4, then you are probably in trouble, because bishop takes, pawn takes, and just look at how awful white's pawn structure is. Yeah. It's like you have a backward pawn on b file. You have those two guys like on e4 and e3, and also you
even rook b1 looks just,
rook b8. You mean I mean
rook b8. Sorry.
Yeah, and the fact that like a4 and a5 played, which kind of secures this knight on c5 practically forever. Yeah, that might be just a lost position with equal material on the board. Well, so far Wesley has a strong initiative here. Rook to b8, yeah. Very sound move. Once again, wants to capture on d3. It's harder and harder for white to find moves.
Right.
Harder and harder for white to find moves. Well, honestly, yeah.
I wouldn't even know what white does here.
Yeah, well, d5 was already a very interesting try, but yeah, the way Wesley plays it, I mean, it also is very nice, because like not entering any complications, not entering any tactical sequences, simply improving his position, right? And once again speculating that white's never going to be able to take on c5. And how do you play it, right? I mean, you have the knight on d1, and yeah, that's just terrible. Rook e1. Okay. I'm guessing d5 should happen. I mean, sooner or later. I mean, I'm not sure if it works now, but might as well work. This d5. And also the fact that the rook is on e1, like if you take, black takes, and not bishop d5. But even like stuff like d4 might not work, because yeah, it's just a capture, and the e file.
That knight on d1 does seem really annoying.
Yeah. I mean, having the knight on d1 and opening the center kind of doesn't sound like a good plan. So d5 is of course an option, but also you might think of just, play a move. I mean, I'm not sure what other move could be, to be perfectly honest. So if it's not d5, you kind of slow yourself down a little bit, it seems. Queen b6 is met with rook b1 apparently, and then no, not queen c7, queen b6. I was thinking, but then rook b1 and white threatens bishop takes f7, right? So it's a little bit awkward. Wesley does go d5, yeah. Very logical. I mean, improve your pieces to the maximum, then open the center while your opponent still has the knight on d1. It'd be tough to come back for if Hikaru loses. I mean, you know, with all the trickiness of Hikaru's opening repertoire, it's very hard to get, you know, a playable position against Wesley. So we've already seen
how good was rook takes b3 in that position.
Rook b3.
So
I don't know.
Instead of d5.
So computer was saying this, or.
I think so. Yeah, no. I would not come up with this move, obviously, because you're giving up the exchange for a pawn.
Wait a second. So this bishop f7.
Oh, you get another pawn.
Yeah,
maybe.
bishop d3. There is bishop f7. Okay, that's an explanation why bishop d3 was not. Yeah, so it's bishop f7 intermediate, and that at least is equal material. Okay, but there was rook takes b3. And after queen takes b3, you just, I mean, it probably is good because you'll take e4, right? The light square bishop is a monster. It covers b1. It'll take another pawn, so it looks promising. It looks promising. But d5 shouldn't be bad as well. d5, and Hikaru just played bishop a2, so the bishop is no longer hanging. Maybe that's a fair point. So now, black could try bishop d3, which probably wins him a pawn, but the position is really, really sharp in this case. Maybe it doesn't, because there is bishop f7, king f7, and then a check.
Oh, but then
and then a check, and it's somehow meh.
It looks confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only it does look confusing, but also might be like winning for white. Yeah, rook e6, but just look at this position. I mean, it's like even knight g5. Get rid of this knight, take on c5, right? Okay,
yeah,
it's gone.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Bishop e2, bishop takes e3 was played. Okay. So now if the knight takes, he might as well continue with knight c5 nevertheless, attacking d3 and e4. Yep.
So bishop takes e6. E3 is on the board. I keep mixing up because I think ever since you were saying that white was playing as black and black as white, I've just been in this mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. And he quickly played knight to c5 as well, putting pressure on the d3 pawn. But as you mentioned, I mean, black's pieces are just harmonious. I mean, the knight at least is no longer on d1 for Hikaru, so there are prospects of moving the knight to an advanced outpost like f5.
Yeah, but
how to deal with the d3 pawn.
Yeah, exactly. Like d3 is hanging for real, and rook a to d1 does not really protect d3 because I believe black can still take. Trade over here, and then, I mean, I'm not sure. This endgame might be just very good. Just take d4, and by this endgame, I mean, white perhaps is forced to trade, rook b to d8 to keep this guy protected, and then the knight from f3 has to go to h4, that's the only square. And, you know, it's a couple of pawns and the rook against two minor pieces, and then rook comes to d2, knight comes to d5. White pieces are really disorganized. For some reason, I think this should be good for black. Okay, we are about to find out, by the way, because Hikaru goes for it. He moves the other rook to d1, but yeah, we'll see. Bishop d3 at least is one of the options. It's not necessarily the best one, and not well. Black's not forced to go for it, but if it works, he absolutely will do. Does Miro have? I mean, there was a funny question. Does Miro have this disorder of putting the pieces strictly,
right?
yeah, strictly on the center of a square? Yes, he does. Yes, he does,
Yes,
and more than that. I mean, Jesse, when you play over the board games, where the knights are, I mean, where the knights have to look? Tell me.
They have to look to the left.
To the left.
For me.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Because I mean, anyone who who points the knight towards the opponent is a coward. That's my opinion. But have you seen this? I mean, it occurred so many times to me that, I mean, like before the game, like these guys, for instance, you get seated, you adjust the pieces, right? You adjust it the way you like. So knights look into the left exactly as on a diagram, right? And then the other guy comes and points the horse's mouth to you.
I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, you have to have it in a way. You place your pieces in a way it's easy to pick up as well. I mean, how would you pick up something that a knight that is pointing forward?
Yeah, that's absolutely strange. And then, you end up like adjusting, and he ends up adjusting, and then you have your knights, I mean, your pieces the way you like, and still have to face those horses. And then what I would usually do, I would try to, kind of exchange as fast as possible, so not to deal with those. Yeah.
Oh man, then it's not about the chess anymore. Someone mentions in chat they look at their opponent, so the knights are looking at their opponent.
Yeah,
apparently.
absolutely, and then that's exactly the reason why I would try to exchange the knights. So that I don't like horses staring at me during a chess game. Okay. Okay. So what has happened? D e4, bishop d3, queen c1, and this might be the strongest sequence from black. Like, this might be that black is like very close to winning, but at the same time we are very close to what I would call Hikaru territory. Mm-hmm. Because there are some tactical motifs starting to appear, right? I mean, there's a pin on this D bishop, D3 bishop, then potentially some knight f5 sacrifice on h6, and the bishop on a2 is still there. So black has to be careful. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying like it's dangerous for Wesley So, but yeah, black has to be careful.
Indeed.
I would actually think of, once again, I mean, positionally black is winning, so I would actually think of queen b6 and next move queen b2, just to get rid of the queens. I mean, I know it's a little bit kind of pensioner's choice, right? I don't want to calculate. But what I know that if queens are not on the board, by the way, queen b6 was played. If queens are not on the board, black is just winning. I mean, the e4 pawn drops, the a2 bishop is no longer any threatening piece, it just stands there doing nothing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, queen b6 and quite possibly queen b2 next move. For that though, white probably goes knight f5 and we are still getting something sharp. Mm-hmm. It's not much else that he can do. If we are honest with ourselves, right? I mean, e4.
Yeah, I was wondering what does white do to stop this?
Yeah, like e4 you can't protect really. I mean, you could go knight c4 perhaps, but then among other things, black can just take, and probably does take. Yeah, does take on e4. Yes, white kind of gets a bit of a relief, but just a bit. And then
I was thinking black could black delay taking on e4 for a while just to try and improve his position.
But how do you do it? I mean, you could. Yeah, the problem is that queen b2 now is answered with queen e3. So I would rather take this one, attack f2, and then if queen c2 happens, then I'm kind of forcing the queen's trade and the winning endgame, because yeah, it's like too many things hanging for white. Right, so after queen b6, well, knight f5 kind of makes sense, and then in case of queen b2, there is queen e3, attacking the bishop on d3, and, okay, bishop on d3 is not attacked, okay, because a1 rook is hanging, but attacking the knight, yeah? But there is also a potential for knight h6. There is also potential for knight h6. Takes.
Oh, taking with the queen and
takes,
the bishops on a2. Yeah, that looks really nice.
Like queen g6 is a threat and so on. Knight g5 is a threat. It's not the end though, because black has a funny tactical shot. Queen takes f2. If you capture, it's knight g4 check, and the queen is gone on h6. Right? So double attack like this. And to me, it looks like it ends with king h1, and then you are scared. King h1, and okay, and then once again everything kind of got deleted. Everything got deleted.
92.
92, but this allows queen b2, so white is in a serious trouble. White is in serious trouble, and I think might not be that easy. After queen b2, what he's planning to do is to take, then go knight c4 perhaps. Go knight c4 and then go f3.
Oh, right, and when the bishop takes, you also have 96.
Yeah, you take it. Yeah, well, actually, I've totally overestimated black's position after the queen's trade. I mean, this specific instance where white gets the knight on c4. So it's not as simple. All right. Capturing the pawn on e4 is an option. Yeah, why not, after all? Knight f takes e4 might be a decent move. And then knight takes, bishop takes, and you just a pawn up. White does get some counterplay there, but not much, perhaps. Queen a7, and that's one curious move. The prophylactical move, so keeps the queen on this a7 g1 diagonal, eyeballing f2 through the horses, right? Because, yeah, he's expecting white to go knight c4 nevertheless. I mean, one of the knights to c4, and then he's going to take on e4 eventually. So it might be a clever move, this queen a7. Wesley's down to 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's definitely something I would overlook entirely. I mean, you'd think, okay, b file is important. I need to stay on the b file, and to go queen a7 just to keep this. So do you think doubling the rooks on the b file is an idea now?
No, I think he's getting...
Not entirely, yeah.
He's getting ready to take the pawn on e4. And that must be why the queen is kept exactly on a7, because one way to protect e4 would have been f2, f3, but obviously not with the queen on this diagonal, right? So, I mean, pretty much anything should win. Like knight a4 and then e3 knight is hanging. We'll see. We'll see. Hikaru is also below 5 minutes. So not only the position is getting sharper and sharper, but also they are getting low on time. So really anything can happen. But so far, Wesley seems to be in control.
Indeed. So far, So is doing well. So they're both on 4 minutes, but to also remind the viewers that they do have 10-second increments. Which can feel like absolutely nothing, especially when you're trying to focus on finding the best move. You get lost in the position and forget about the time entirely.
Yeah, and also, you know, the shift that I've already mentioned many times, the shift from 30 seconds increment to 10 seconds increment, later on in the blitz from 10 seconds to 2 seconds. That's what's really, you know, makes difference, because like before the game, you understand, okay, it's no longer 1.5 hours, it's 15 minutes, so you play faster. But when you're kind of out of time, everyone has sort of a pattern of playing moves, and you turn to not even look at the clock, because, you know, you made a couple of moves, some increment has accumulated, and then you have, normally you would have 1 minute, right? You play a couple of moves, like imagine you have a way to repeat the position with 2 checks. So you give 2 checks and you don't even look at the clock because you've just collected 1 minute. And then all of a sudden, it's not 1 minute but 20 seconds. And in blitz, it's it doesn't really add up, right? In blitz, I mean, you can make as many moves as you like, but you would not accumulate any substantial amount. Okay, knight d to c4 was played, to which Wesley captures on e4, runs into e3. Oh, sorry, f3. Does it work? I'm not sure, to be honest, because yes, the knight on e3 is protected with the queen, but still,
you're opening this diagonal.
The feeling is, the feeling is something has to drop for Hikaru. I don't know. I mean, that's not that easy to believe, to be honest. Obviously, I just wanted to say, obviously, if knight goes back, Hikaru is very happy with knight e3, but apparently Wesley has spotted something. Sorry, knight d6, not knight e3.
I feel the same. No
So knight goes back to
knight d6.
Knight goes back to f6. What's the follow-up for Hikaru? Because now Wesley is ready to simply consolidate, like bishop would go to g6, guarding f7, then rook moves to d8, and so on and so on. And it seems that Hikaru will be will be missing precisely one tempo. Because look, I mean, knight d6, for instance, right? Knight d6, attacking the rook and the f7 pawn. Let's imagine black goes rook e7. And you wish you could go something like knight f5, which would develop the initiative. But then there is this knight b3 discovered check, and black simply wins.
I mean, I was even looking at knight to e4 check, and then trying to get to f2.
But he'll block with the queen, right? He'll block with the queen, so that's why I thought...
Maybe you can take on d6? Oh, but then d3 is hanging. Okay.
I mean, it's a little bit tricky. So, no, I mean, it might be that this works.
Sure, knight b3 is just
knight
easy,
b3 works for sure.
Okay.
Because again, not to lose the queen, you'll have to block with the queen. I'm taking a one rook, so that it's an endgame where I'm a rook up, right? I mean, okay, at least an exchange up plus the pawn. Okay, let's see. So, knight d6 played and rook f8, not e7, which, perhaps makes sense.
King h1.
Makes sense, so knight f5 won't come with a tempo, king h1, logical, but then black gets a chance to, solidify himself. Bishop e2, that's a nice move. So, I presume he is planning to go back to a6. But first, wait a second, he's not planning to go back to... he's just winning this way. Rook d... maybe rook d2 still kind of holds. Because knight d3 still... there is still queen g1, interestingly. Keeping everything protected.
Oh my goodness.
Wait a second, did he just kind of miss something? Rook d2. I mean, you're safe going back to a6, I believe, and then claiming that because you went rook d2, that kind of your queen's not joining, like say in these lines after knight f5. Rook is sort of in the way, right? Rook is sort of in the way of your queen, but... still feels like a bit of compensation for white. So perhaps it wasn't the strongest. Perhaps it wasn't the strongest. Rook d2 is on the board.
Apparently this blunders, because it was about -3, -4, and it went to equal.
Rook b to d8 was the stronger move. Rook b to d8, and then I believe that was just get rid of this stupid d6 knight. Why would you tolerate it? Rook d2, and this way you give white time. I think he blundered this rook d2, queen g1 thing.
Okay, so he must have missed then queen g1 and just decided to play bishop a6.
Bishop a6, and then I'm guessing white is supposed to go to f5. If you go knight d3, white happily takes. Okay, knight f5 played. So now the question is if Knight b3 works, because that's something that I would be trying to make work. Knight b3, where black has to take, white has to take, black takes back on b3. And, black's still a pawn up. Black is still a pawn up. There is some annoying compensation because of those two knights being very active. Knight on d6, knight on f5. This pair will drag some attention, but yeah, I don't think white is able to create any serious threats. Even though, now that I'm thinking, could it be that knight g7 is an actual move? King takes, and then you play knight f5. Come on. I mean, we are about to see this, I believe, because knight b3 was played, takes, and knight g7. Knight takes. No, he doesn't do this. He goes queen e1, opting to g3. Well, that's just. Could it be that white is better all of a sudden? I'm guessing. Yeah, knight g7. By the way, was a strong move. Knight g7 was a strong move that Hikaru has missed.
Knight g7. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, after which move?
Instead of queen e1, last move. Knight g7.
Wow, knight g7 was somehow +3.
Yes. Queen e1 possibly gives black still a chance to,
I have no idea. I suppose the players are dipping below 2 minutes, and I mean, Wesley So's in 1.5 minutes versus Hikaru's mid in 50 seconds. So there's a lot of pressure. I mean, 10 seconds, once again, is not a lot of time with that increment. And
yeah, that's not a lot of time. It's
normal.
just enough to play one game of Ultra Bullet for Hikaru. I mean, 10 seconds.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but knight g7, I believe, under different circumstances, Hikaru would obviously spot. The thing here, though, is that you've been so passive like a few moves ago that sometimes you do not really believe there is something in the position. You're not, you're not finding those tactical shots because you're not looking. Very often that's the, kind of psychology plays tricks with your mind. King h7, but that's already rough because queen e5 must be better for white already. All of a sudden, like the knights are monsters, the knight on d6, the knight on f5, and also black's bishop, glory and pride, the bishop from d3, it's kind of left aside after what happened, right? Queen takes e5 simply, not to mention queen g3 might be kind of a more forcing move, but yeah, queen g3 perhaps allows g6, so I would just take on e5.
Yeah. And they still look really calm over the board. I wonder what they're thinking. Maybe along with the heartbeat that the camera can sort of figure out the heart rates.
Okay,
maybe,
knight g7
the camera
now.
can also...
What is this? Knight takes g7 now. Oh, whoa. King g7, okay. We'll
with
see.
Such poise. Yeah. No.
I mean, you can still take e5 and you're probably not wars. Knight f5, though, I'm not sure. Oh, okay, I mean, he messed it up entirely. I'm no longer know what's going on. So it was, wait a second, but it was working with the queen on c1. So why wouldn't it work with the queen on e1? Because the queen from c1 was getting to h6. Okay, fair enough.
So apparently the move here is knight f5, and king takes g7 was a mistake. Instead, bringing the queen to c5 was better somehow.
Yeah.
Instead of taking the knight on g7, at least from what I'm seeing here.
Okay, but he took.
The engine's going crazy.
He took, right. No, I mean, this resigns. Knight f5, rook d6, it's game over. After queen b8, yeah, you just go knight f5, you go rook d6, and black is not able to guard f6. Wait a second, there is a little check on b1, the sneaky check. Okay. It's not that simple. And Hikaru spots it. He goes h4. Clever.
Yeah.
Clever played.
It seems like he still saw this, and now queen g6 is possible,
okay,
maybe.
the trade, king h2, I'm guessing. Yeah, queen g6, perhaps. But there is still knight f5, rook d6 trick. Or,
okay.
Yeah, queen g6.
Knight f5.
Knight f5 check. King goes wherever it goes, and then rook d6 should be winning. King h7, still rook d6. I don't see what he's planning to do. Rook d6, yep. Rook g8 creates a threat of checkmate in one, but white just can play g3. Not much he can do. Rook e8.
Is that rook g8?
Rook g8, g3. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
g3.
Okay, it's a threat, and after white plays g3, there is no more threats. g3, yep, played. Rook e8 is perhaps the best try. Well, to at least get an endgame, if we get an endgame. I mean, I'm not sure.
So there's rook e8, rook takes f6, right?
Rook e8, no, queen takes.
No,
rook e8, I'll take on e5. Yeah, rook e8, yeah, you'll have to take with the queen, and then at least the queens are getting traded, and maybe, possibly, black is getting a chance. Yeah, well, it's a very clever check, by the way. It's a very clever check. Well, I'm actually not sure where you go, because king h3 allows some bishop c8 business. So you might as well be forced to go to the first rank. And then
But I don't see a check after this.
King h3, okay.
Oh, maybe you take the queen. Rook takes and then you... Okay.
No, you don't do this. You go bishop c8. Yeah, you go bishop c8. King h3, bishop c8, g4. Now you trade everything. It's a rook endgame, you know. I mean, it's a very good chance for black to survive. Like rook a2 now. Well, actually, Wesley might be escaping with a draw. Rook a2 or rook... Well, rook e3 is worse, because then white captures the pawn on c6.
It's crazy how we saw winning chances for both sides in such a short amount of time.
What else? What else? Like rook? Yeah, white's better anyway. c5. C5 might be, honestly, might be too ambitious, because of those two f pawns, you actually sort of in danger of your king being boxed on like h7 and so on. So imagine h5, f6 happens, and then white would go rook d7 and perhaps win the f7 pawn. And once again, I'm not sure. King g4, or rook. What he does? Rook a6, rook e3. That's heading towards a draw, to be honest. King g4. Okay, just take it. Take it.
Does white not still have enough pressure on the king side?
No, he shouldn't.
On g4.
He shouldn't.
Okay.
Check and king back to g3. Okay. Now just king g7. Now rook b4 is what Wesley does. Might have been important to play h5 now that I'm looking at it. It might have been important to play h5 with black, because now what happens? Yeah, rook a7, you'll have to go to g7.
Right.
I can see, you know what? I can see it ending with a stalemate, interestingly enough.
Oh, wow.
Take it as a prophecy, sort of. Yeah, rook a6.
I'll take it.
Rook a6,
We'll
okay,
bag
you
the
push
prophecy.
c3. Hikaru's point is that he's going to go f6, and then king goes to h7. Yeah, c3, f6, king goes to h7, exactly. Then, okay, rook c6, you take on a4, rook c7. Rook c7 is nothing, you just go king g8,
right?
yeah. Just go king g8. Okay.
Okay, king
And
g8
that's a
is
draw,
played.
yeah. That's a draw.
Probably you're taking on c3 and that's it.
You,
Or maybe
you give a
conventional,
check
I
and
guess.
go to c7, and Hikaru settles for a draw.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the point was that if you take on c3 and then get the rook on the 8th rank, Like, let's imagine, what was it? F6 check, king h7. He went over here, right? Yeah, it starts repeating all the time. Like in this position, takes, and black doesn't even have to do anything. I mean, he can go here, and when white gives a check and goes to f8, I mean, first of all, rook a7 just keeps it protected. You can't win.
Right.
But also, that's the moment when you are stalemated, so you are free to give checks with the rook, like rook g4, rook g2, and so.
Oh, I see.
So the rook is a desperado, and the game finishes
So
in a draw.
it's one of those. Yeah, that would have been nice indeed.
Okay, so that was quite a roller coaster of a game, I have to say. First, Wesley being completely winning, then I believe Hikaru having like decent winning chances, if not winning outright. And eventually it all
So nice save by
finished to a
both.
draw. Yeah, in a way. But then would it be that the other game is not as sharp and still a draw? I mean, that's a very high probability, because after such a game, it's very hard to, to force yourself to, to play a full-blooded game again. And also, even though it's the same day, it's the same tiebreak, but two games instead of one kind of give you an illusion that will be less of a lottery. So I can easily see Wesley making a draw to transition to blitz portion. Well, once again, Hikaru is probably the favorite, but not by a huge margin.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens in the last rapid game.
Yeah, so Wesley will have the white pieces, and perhaps we'll try to put some pressure at least on Hikaru. I believe there'll be 10 to 15 minutes break between the games, and therefore we will take a short break between the games, and we'll come back as soon as the players will.
See you soon.
Hi, I'm Vidit Gujarati. I'm 27 years old, an international chess grandmaster from India. I'm also the brand ambassador for FIDE Online Arena. It's a place where you can play for online rating and online titles which can be recognized by FIDE officially. I feel chess is a sport which can be definitely played online, which other sports don't enjoy the luxury of. And the most important thing is that you can play from the comfort of your home, be it any time, against strong players all around the globe. And since the past 2 years, we have seen a boom in online chess. And be it for professional players or for people who have just started, I think it provides a great opportunity. In the next few months, I'll be streaming and playing games on the FIDE Online Arena. So be a part of it, and who knows, maybe we'll end up playing a game with each other. See you soon on the FIDE Online Arena.
Okay, and we are back, and so are the players. Interestingly, the countdown would say 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes left before the start, but players can't wait to start.
Oh, yes, you can hear me now, I hope.
Yeah.
It seems though it seems though they will be starting really soon, and I often don't like sitting at the table for too long before they're on. I mean, that anticipation and all the nerves, I mean, just keep rushing towards me. So I'd much prefer to sit down maybe mere moments before starting. Or even settle in and then get up, walk around, make a cup of tea or coffee and so on.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm really curious to see how it's gonna be game 2. Because, once again, referring to classical, there wasn't much of a game as it seems. Wesley controlled everything. E4, he opens with E4. That's a bit of a surprise, wow. I have to say. And the Ruy Lopez Berlin, him being white, knight E4. Will we see another draw like that? Rook E1.
I'm really hoping not.
Rook E1 is such a...
Is it a buzzkill?
Such a boring line. Bishop F1, knight E5. Yeah, I mean, it's just a draw again. So get ready for the blitz portion, Jesse.
No,
seriously.
Let's have a little faith.
No, there won't be anything happening there. Yeah. Knight E8 is perhaps somewhat surprising. At least Wesley seems to be a bit surprised with knight E8, but honestly, I don't remember if it's any problematic, this one. Yeah, perhaps if you're ambitious with white, what you want to do is to try to play D5. So this way, seizing the space and hopefully kind of finding the way to exploit it later on. Yeah, well, this might actually be somewhat more pleasant for white. So I'm not sure Hikaru's last move is the most precise here. I think kind of what the theory says is bishop f6 followed by rook e8, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the line that most people play. Bishop f6, rook e1, and then rook e8. And you also have this rook e2 move played by Carlsen first, like bishop f6, rook e2, and then I think b6 is the recipe. But yeah, knight e8 obviously has to be one of the moves, since Hikaru played it without wasting any time. And then again, d5 is the most critical. Otherwise, black just plays d5, puts the bishop on d6, and then we are talking symmetrical French or exchange French.
Yeah, I was even considering d5 for black here.
Yeah, but white's the move. There is a little problem, right?
Of course. So
yeah, I mean, if you do something irrelevant, like you go to e1, for instance, okay. So d5 happened. And d5 was answered with bishop c5. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Rook goes back to e1. Yeah. I'm guessing he will have to play bishop e3 later on.
There was some question if knight e8 was a new position, but I'm not too sure about that.
Well, it would seem so, right? Since Wesley has spent some time, and initially he was playing very fast, but...
Okay.
Perhaps not, maybe a sideline, but not unheard of. That's what I can imagine. And white is getting more space here. Can give white that. Yeah, white is getting a bit more space. After bishop f5. Yeah, I'm still thinking bishop d3 is what he has done. Bishop d3, yeah. But anyway, I mean, you're probably planning to trade both bishops eventually. Bishop d3, queen d3. Now I think knight f6 is possible. I mean, I'm sure knight f6 is possible. You want to stop knight e4, and also knight f6, bishop g5 runs into bishop f2 check, which is important. King f2 and then knight g4 and take the bishop on g5. Yeah, so bishop d3, I'm guessing. Capturing with the pawn would probably deserves some consideration, but not really.
Yeah.
Queen takes knight f6. Yeah, so not...
Because you're blocking out the bishop at d4.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the idea, but once again, I'm not sure if it works at all, right? Anyway, he captured with the queen, knight f6. Now what you do is, I don't know, h3 perhaps? But yeah, the feeling is like sooner or later you will have to trade the c5 bishop for your bishop, so you might as well start with bishop e3.
I was looking at bishop g5. Is
but that's what I just
something?
said, Jesse. Bishop f2, king f2, knight g4. That would be inaccurate.
Okay.
Bishop g5 pin is, yeah, it is attractive.
So that's
it is
why,
attractive
yeah.
if bishop f2 is not there. Yeah, that's exactly that would be very strong, in fact, because like black would not have any other ways to unpin. But bishop f2 works.
So then preparing with h3 maybe, and then bishop g5.
Yeah, that actually works. Yeah, agreed. But then black probably plays knight d7, I'm guessing, and then opts for e5, and also sets up for some queen h4 stuff. Yeah, h3, actually, I do like h3. So let's see if Wesley ends up playing it. There is an ambitious move like knight a4. So I basically say that I want to trade the bishop for a knight, yeah, but in this case, I'm not sure if it works. Not sure if it works because, first of all, there is bishop b6, and it's not clear.
Are you taking maybe?
Yeah, you take ab6, and then black is probably... yeah, wait a second. Black is scared in this case because bishop g5. So now our combination of, say, pinning the knight and trading the bishop for a knight kind of works.
Yeah.
Okay, but then after b4, let's try queen to d7, and we attack the a4 knight. So this is more than acceptable for black. Black might be simply better. And the other thing what queen d7 does is the knight on f6 is no longer pinned, right?
Right.
So you could go like queen d1, bishop b6, trade it and try to claim an advantage here, but it's very unlikely. Yeah? And also c4, one has to account for b5. Anyway,
Right.
h3 played. h3 played, stopping knight g4, recreating perhaps a threat of bishop to g5, and it is met with h6. Plain and simple. Now knight g4 for me means no bishop g5 for you.
Would you still recommend that white go for a bishop trade here?
Yeah, that's probably what you do. I mean, just think logically, yes. I mean, on one hand, white has a bit more space, and that hints at not trading. Yeah, let's keep more pieces on the board.
Yeah.
But realistically, the c5 bishop is a good bishop, and for your bishop on c1, the only alternative attractive square would be g5, which is controlled, right? So you could say, okay, let's keep more pieces, let's play bishop d2, but is bishop on d2 really better than bishop on c5? No, it's vice versa. So that's why I think you play bishop e3, and then if black trades, you take with the rook, but black is just in time. Queen d7, rook e1, rook maybe f to e8, and you do have kind of slight pressure with white, but nothing substantial really.
And what about putting the bishop on the long diagonal with e3?
b3, bishop b2, but it's kind of time consuming. Well, he actually denying, which I just said, he goes bishop d2. Point perhaps being knight a4 would force the bishop trade. Yeah, fair enough. So bishop d2. Putting the bishop on a long diagonal, I'm afraid it's kind of too time-consuming. I mean, it is an idea, of course, and if to compare bishop on b2 and d2, one has to agree that, yeah, the bishop on b2 looks more attractive. But maybe black is, like, in time to swap a lot of stuff. Maybe he's not, because also you prepare knight a4 with b3. Interesting. So like I was thinking originally that rook e8 would work, but then knight a4, and then you threaten to take the bishop, but also you're threatening the exchange of the f6 knight. I really don't know. Maybe it was an alternative. Anyway, bishop d2 and queen d7 has happened. what we are doing now.
27.
And you could always claim that this is somewhat better for you. Like rook takes e4, rook e1, and white has a shot at controlling the e-file. But yeah, but
but black can still trade
like
a pair of
trade
rooks.
a pair of rooks or maybe two pairs of rooks. Yeah, that's the problem with such positions, so that you kind of try to accumulate those small weaknesses, right? Little weaknesses, little advantages perhaps. But by the end, but by the time you have done, you've controlled this square, I don't know, you've improved this piece and so on. There's nothing left on the board. And yes, in the final resulting endgame, you are slightly better, but you understand you can't really win this. Okay, Queen f3, in fact, puts some pressure on black because, bishop h6 is a threat.
And I think this is where Hikaru starts to think on his own. I mean, he has more time than what he started with, and it's already move 17. And Wesley spent quite a bit of that time, probably mostly on that move 98, but he has 10 minutes now, and this is the first time Hikaru is thinking in the game.
Yeah, Queen f3 is the clever move. So bishop h6 now is constantly a threat. After king h7, which seems to be perhaps the only reliable way of guarding h6, the other way would involve another move from this knight on f6, which you probably don't like, so king h7, I assume. But then white can even think of something along the lines of g4.
Wow.
Not really planning to go g5 anytime soon, but just to go g4, to go king g2, you know. It's kind of controlling a bit more space on the king side. And if given opportunity, then of course g4, g4, h4, g5, All right, so king h7, there is also a tricky bishop to d4 move. So it's kind of hanging in the air, so it's not very solid, but for now it guards the knight, so bishop h6 is not a thing. And then quite possibly you would trade on c3 if forced to, because strangely enough, like the exchange on c3 and then moving the knight might not be all that bad. After all, the position is closed, right? But we shall see. Yeah, white's position is slightly better. Bishop d4, bishop d4 is played. He didn't like king h7. Bishop d4 now, the real question is what does white do? Because doubling the rooks on the e-file doesn't really help, right? I mean, you could say, okay, rook e2 and bring the other rook. But in that case, black just goes rook e8 and he's in time to trade one pair of rooks and go rook e8 one more time. So rook a to d1.
Is bishop takes h6 a threat now?
Yes, it is, I guess. If like black totally ignores it, right, which he doesn't do. He went rook a to e8. So now it's one more time no longer a threat, right? Wait a second. Can we take e8? And then if the rook takes, we take h6.
Bishop takes c3 and taking g7.
Yeah, but bishop c3,
I know it's a wishful thinking,
I take back. No, we don't take g7. We just take back. The knight is still hanging, so the bishop is not hanging, but the knight does. So I'm guessing after rook e8, Hikaru will have to take with the knight.
Oh.
After which, I'm guessing white is better simply because this knight is pushed away.
It won't be the first time a knight is on e8 this game.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. I think we saw the opening with 98 and a chat message made me giggle a bit. It was something along the lines of, why are they playing chess 960?
Like looks like, And for this, the bishop has to be on h8, and that,
right.
And then it's...
So we have Hikaru thinking now, deciding whether to take. I mean, he has three options. I suppose it's worth a think.
He can take with the queen, interestingly. I'm trying to understand if it works at all. Yeah, like take back. And originally, no, he takes with the knight. Yeah, it probably would not work. It probably would not work. So he takes back with the knight. And this way, I believe white is better, but he's really pushed on time to, you know, to use this advantage, because if black is given a couple of moves, he will rearrange his pieces, and after all, some exchanges happen. So it's not much for white. But yeah, maybe you start disturbing. Yeah, queen d3 just played. Yeah. Oops. Queen d3 just played. Start disturbing the d4 bishop.
So he must have really been worried about this bishop takes h6 then. So.
Yeah, that's why he captured on e8 with the knight. Yeah, exactly. So still uncomfortable, still awkward for Hikaru. And then again, if you move the bishop away, it kind of f2 is no longer a real target, right? So white can play.
Yeah, I was looking at f6. Okay,
bishop
sorry,
f6.
bishop
Yeah,
e6.
I mean you
Sorry, I
can
didn't
play
see.
bishop f6, but then.
Where does the knight go?
Yeah, where does the knight go exactly? Like the bishop is good on f6. He might be.
Oh, right.
Might be afraid of this, Hikaru, because knight e4. If you capture on b2. There are a couple of options for white. I mean, you could go queen b3, take b7, or
if you really wanted the pawn back, I suppose.
Or you can try to be, even more aggressive. So you play c3, not necessarily planning to trap the bishop. The bishop is coming back, but you'll use. Oh, sorry, not bishop c3, of course. Yeah, you'll use that time to try to come up with some sort of kingside initiative. So therefore, Hikaru comes back to b6. Okay, after queen d3. Now white's task obviously is to stop black from comfortably playing knight f6, which you probably achieve by going knight e4. And yeah, that's one tricky position, because you almost force black. That's the feeling at the very least, that you almost force black to play f5. In order to arrange
for many many moves, it was suggested to play knight e2, and I'm not sure why.
Knight e2,
Where's
not knight
going?
e4, yeah? Knight e2, well, maybe you have the same route of knight g3 f5, like knight e4, knight g3 f5, I was thinking. But also, it kind of stops f5 entirely. Knight goes to f4.
Knight f4?
Yeah, knight goes to f4. If only we had a good recipe against knight f6, then I'd be more than satisfied. And maybe we just go bishop c3 here. Maybe just go bishop c3, and then the knight once again is awkward, and queen d8, there is already knight g3, and the knight is heading towards f5, or possibly queen goes to f5. Well, actually, it might be very good for white. Rook e1 is a little bit less promising, I'm afraid. A little bit less promising, because black is in time. To play knight f6. To play knight f6, and once again, when you recreate this threat, black can do exactly the same trick. Go to e8, rook takes, and one more time take with the knight, but at least he gets rid of all the rooks, and that should do the trick. Yeah, knight f6 on the board.
That's exactly what happened.
Knight f6 is on the board. So I'm a little bit, disappointed in a way that Wesley decided to go for rook e1, because I believe both knight e4 or knight e2 would be a little bit more challenging.
So now maybe knight e4 to get control of the e file.
And you mean take with the queen? Well, possibly. Yeah, possibly. It's just that not that many pieces left, right? So
that's true.
It's hard to, I agree, it's kind of hard to find an alternative open file for black, so white still might be better. Knight e4 played, yeah. Spot on. Knight e4. Queen f5. So this is how you do it. Queen f.
But now taking
Queen f6.
on f6.
Queen f6.
Queen takes and like queen e2 maybe.
But then you drop the
b2.
pawn. No. It's not the same.
So you probably...
Queen f5, well, g4 is kind of a thing, but queen would go to g6, right? Yeah, it doesn't really work. g4 is played, yeah, queen g6. Queen g6, I'm guessing.
Love to see a chat. This is where the spice is.
Yeah, obviously not queen d5 because knight f6 comes with a check, yeah. And there is no tactic whatsoever.
Oh, that's nice to show, I suppose.
Yeah, like queen d5 would drop a pawn, but yeah, knight f6 is a check
really
to the
nice.
king, and then the queen is lost, yeah. No, he does go queen g6, obviously. And what does white do? He's not yet forced to do anything, interestingly. I mean, he can go like king g2 maybe, because the pin on the f2 pawn is annoying, so king g2 kind of solidifies the entire thing. King g2, and then I'm not sure if I'm planning to go f4, but I might as well. There is no rook e8 yet. After knight takes, I'm guessing I take with the queen. Okay, well, we shall see. He made another move. He played bishop f6, kind of trying to force black to act, because now bishop f6 is a threat. Or knight f6, yeah, pretty much anything. Knight d7 though. Knight d7 is an option. Yeah, knight d7 is cool.
And Wesley sitting on the edge of his chair there.
And
knight d7. Wow, we saw knight d7. So he doesn't want to exchange knights.
Knight d7, yeah, to go either to c5 or e5. Wesley goes for knight g3, intending to trade the queens. Now you actually have a choice because, yeah, I mean, you could take on d3, double white pawns, but then white is planning to go d4 later on. Or you could double your own pawns, try to double your own pawns by going knight c5, allowing a trade on g6, and yeah, okay, Hikaru goes for queen takes d3 option. Queen takes, pawn takes, and then he goes g6, limiting the knight on g3, so there is no jumps to f5 of some sort. This, however, allows rook e7. The problem is there is no real follow-up. Rook e7, rook d8, and then king f8 is about to happen.
So there was a poll on YouTube to see who will win the tiebreak, and there were 1,200 votes so far, and Nakamura having 79% of the vote and 21% for Wesley. So so we'll see if you are right or if you are wrong today, everyone.
Yeah, so how much is that? Roughly 80%, right? So does it make, well, actually, I think it makes Wesley a favorite, because like if we think in terms of how widely the fans of each player are represented on YouTube, I think the fact that Wesley got 20% is already a huge achievement. Okay, knight e5, rook d1. He's trying, though. He's trying to control it. So rook d1, then he wants to play f4, drive the knight back, then king f3. Well, yeah, he's getting somewhere, interestingly. After knight e5, by the way, yeah, white could have already captured the knight on e5, which would mean an extra pawn. So Naka was ready to sack this pawn, at least temporarily. Yeah, bishop e5, sorry. If bishop e5 would happen, yeah, bishop takes, pawn takes. Rook e5, rook d8, perhaps that was the problem. And then bishop d4 is a threat, or something along the lines of f7, f6. Anyway, let's stick to the game. Rook e8 after rook d1. So now f4 might happen, but then the knight goes back to d7, and black is ready for rook e3. So that's why Wesley goes with knight e4 immediately, hinting at knight f6 check. Why not? Black perhaps is still forced to go to d7, and then knight f6 might be kind of critical line. I'm not sure. Knight d7, knight f6, you know, trade. Then white would have full control. Would he be able to play king f3? But it's black to move, so rook e2 is very tempting. Attacking f2 and b2 in case of d4, but after d4, rook b2, rook e1. I'll be worried with black. Because yes, you're a pawn up, but the king is kind of left alone there. Right. Okay, we shall see. He goes king f8, but that allows for knight f6, yeah, rook e7, and some sort of f4. Well, actually, f4, knight to d7, then you trade, then you go rook f6. I mean, I'm not sure. Might be problematic for black. There is also a spare option of capturing the knight on e5, but then d takes. The knight on f6 is nice, but it will be evicted sooner or later with king g7. I'm not sure. Yeah, but
yeah, I was wondering if you take on e5, pawn takes, and do you then push the pawn just to ensure that, okay, you're giving the pawn back, but also
d6, knight d5, an option, yeah, certainly an option. But then
put the pawn back.
But then once again, d6, cd6, knight d5, we are playing for some sort of compensation to prove the equality with white, right? While originally this position looks like white is fighting for an advantage, so I don't really think we are that desperate yet. Yeah, so f4 is a possible move, and what else?
Okay. Maybe taking rook e1.
Take on e5,
then
rook
you're
e1.
But then there's probably bishop d4.
No, king g7 is what bothers me.
King g7 as well.
King g7, yeah, king g7. Then you'll have to move.
Come back with the knight.
No, I'm giving up on this idea of capturing on e5. It's just that I was thinking f4, knight d7. We are not getting too far, but what's black's gonna do? Imagine it's black to move. I don't know. I go a2, a4, for instance. I mean, also, yeah, a4. Bravo. a4, also threatening a5, by the way. And it's not clear what black's going to do, right? a4 is a kind of forcing move, semi-forcing move, so it's not like you can do absolutely anything. a5 being a threat. There is no knight d7. Maybe you have to push the c-pawn somewhere. Like c6 or even c5. c5 not being very attractive. White is better. Let me tell you, white is better.
Yes.
And look, for instance, if he goes a6, a5, bishop a7, we might see something like this. And knight, why wouldn't this thing let me analyze? Yeah, a5 was played. Yes, if the bishop is pushed to a7, then there is an option to go for this line. Knight d7, rook d7, and then bishop f6. And rook has 0 moves, and the bishop on a7 is kind of stuck, right? And then you go king f3, and so on. So that was an interesting option. So therefore Hikaru plays a5, but this is potentially a target, the pawn on a5. Not simple at all, I have to say. Not simple at all. Hikaru might be in quite a bit of trouble. h4, once again, not rushing it. h4 intending to play h5 perhaps, to kind of fix more black pawns on the dark squares. King g7 is an option, but then even like coming back to e4.
Ooh, c6.
What did he do? c6?
Oh my gosh.
What?
No, I was just wondering if this allows then bishop takes e5 and then pushing the pawn.
Well, it does.
Was this an oversight?
It does. I think I think white is just winning, right? Bishop takes. Now rook takes, runs into knight d7.
Where does
Pawn
the
takes,
rook go?
it's d6, and okay, the rook goes to e6. That's the only square. But then knight d7,
But
knight
then
b6
knight d7
wins the
anyway.
game, and the Grand Prix leg 3 in Berlin. If he spots
Oh my
it,
goodness.
if he spots it, he has 4 minutes to do so.
He does.
Yes, e6 is a blunder, and
Oh my gosh.
he goes for it. Yeah, bishop takes e5, and you do not expect such a blunder from Hikaru, because that's one of those things where you simply have no way back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, this was the only tactic I was looking for when you were sort of looking at, and bishop takes knight, and I was like, yeah, the c pawn is annoying, and
Yeah, so interestingly, if he was inclined to play with the c pawn, he could have done this immediately, go in c6, and at least it would keep him afloat, because okay, it's gone. Yeah, so one more time, I mean, he could have played c6, and now this thing doesn't really work, because d6, rook e6, right, the bishop is guarded by the a7 pawn, so it's a combination of, like, factors. So black played a5 and c6 at the same time. All right, now, I mean, this is just completely winning. This is completely winning. That's what, knight for a pawn? Why?
I do have some good news for you, Miro.
Yeah, let me know.
So we polled the same question on Twitch to see who would win the Grand Prix, or the tie breaks at least. And the options were between Hikaru, Wesley, Miro, and Jesse. And to be honest, we got some votes too. So I think we stand a good chance.
Even not being involved in the final, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. But yeah, typically this kind of polls should involve, all of the above answer, like A, B, C, D, and then option E, all of the above.
Yeah, no, of course. But we should have a bigger cam of the players, I think, at some point.
Yeah, because what happens on the board is no longer that important. Yeah, it's an absolutely winning position. One doesn't have to be Wesley Saw to win it. It's an extra horsey for Wesley Saw, and yeah, quite an uncharacteristic game for Hikaru. Like going for something really passive, first of all, and then like blundering badly. That's stuff that he rarely does. But perhaps really, like he lost motivation, a lot of motivation when he first kind of qualified, then won the entire series by going to the final. I mean, you can be disciplined, very disciplined, and so on and so on, but it's really hard to, to push yourself to play.
That's true. And I mean, even in the interview yesterday, Hikaru even mentioned, he said, as soon as the candidates' slots were taken and he had made it, the tournament was basically over for him. And that's something he had said in the interview.
Yeah. But that's exactly how it works, yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, still trying to come up with some, with some tricks, but there's nothing to discuss here. Just take on h5, go king g3. I mean, it's an extra horse, which is a lot. Just go king g3. I mean, you could go knight c6, there is nothing wrong. Okay, king g3, just protect everything, yeah. Not much you can do. Hikaru, of course, will keep fighting, but, That's not the position you want to be in, of course. What can I say? I'm surprised the way this tiebreak seemingly resolves. Wasn't expecting that. No, seriously. It's not like I wouldn't believe Wesley So could win, but in such a manner, really. Like Hikaru basically blundering a piece on the spot. That's really, I mean, like would Wesley win game one, for instance, where he entirely outplayed Hikaru? That would be Wesley type of a win, right? So he kind of understood where to put the pieces better and so on and so on, but kind of here he was more or less, I mean, he was applying some pressure, well, let's give him that, but he was more or less waiting for Hikaru to come up with a mistake, and Hikaru delivered.
Indeed. I mean, they both played pretty solidly. And once again, it all comes down to, I think, the time situation too, when you feel that pressure and you're most inclined to make or at least blunder if you have less time. So we're going to blame the time, I guess, in this case. Or perhaps we'll see what Hikaru says in the post-interview. Depending on the result, of course,
Okay, I can't really see any other result but white winning this, but who knows?
We're just putting it out there.
Who knows? Knight b3, next move being d4. A check. What's the trick? Okay, goes to a6. So it'll be more checks or what?
I'm assuming just king e3 and knight c4.
I mean, black's rook is very active, right? So perhaps the real trick is like give him one pawn and bring your pieces together and you just win automatically, right? So you're absolutely right. Just let's go king e3, rook a4, let's go rook g1. I mean, you still can't really miss it. He goes knight a5. Okay, that's very Wesley. Kind of block the A file and the C file at the same time. But hang on a second. After rook d6, how do you stop rook d4?
I think he had just played knight b3. So it was a matter of like knight b3, rook a6, knight a5 again. And now probably knight b3 once again. I'm not sure.
No, come on. That's no. Now king e3. Knight c6, rook takes. Okay. I'm not sure it's the best way, honestly. Decreasing the material on the board, the pawn material, is not something you want to be doing.
Aren't a lot of pawns left.
Knight a5 wasn't a great move. Allow me to be perfectly honest. It wasn't a great move.
I think he was concerned of this active rook, so maybe he heard you. It's like, Hikaru's rook is too active, let me just shut it down.
But okay, anyway, I mean, he's winning completely. Rook d4, rook d5 check, then takes the pawn, It's not much to discuss. Maybe I take back all the criticism, actually. When I've realized that he captures on d4 with the rook, and then black can't really do much. This is just winning. Rook h1, and then you have rook d5 check, and then take the pawn.
Yes, Chad seems to still have a lot of faith in this being a draw, due to them exchanging a few pawns in the process.
But, the fact that the f-pawns are on the board probably is comforting for white. Simple reason being, like, how do you trade the f-pawns, right? I mean, I can imagine, like, white now picking up the b-pawn, black rushes with h-pawn, white tries to compensate, rush with the b-pawn. At some point, those passed pawns kind of annihilate each other, right? But the f-pawns are staying on the board. That's the point. Okay.
That was quite interesting. I mean, Wesley played rook f4, and then didn't let go of the rook, but rather put the rook back on d4 and thought a little bit longer.
That was a bit of a surprise. That was a bit of a surprise. I believe both would win. It's just a matter of what do you find being more comfortable. So he goes with this, king g6. Okay, takes the pawn. Really, but I think it will all break down to this thing that I've described. Yeah, that quite likely the h pawn might provide some counterplay, which would be enough to to exchange it for the b pawn. But then you're still completely lost, right? Then you're still completely lost.
Leaves.
Or white just goes king f4, h3, king g3, and this pawn never gets anywhere.
I was just looking at rook b7.
Rook b7, h3, you capture f7 with a check, and it's king g8. And who knows? I mean, that's one of the...
I would even take the pawn.
Yeah.
but probably not enough. The pawns are so far apart.
But no, I mean, you're probably winning there as well. It's just that the way Wesley plays it, it's much safer, it would seem.
Sure.
Knight to g4, right? h3. And then you go to h5, yeah, or maybe give a check, go to h5, and then the b pawn is getting attacked, and we are actually going to this scenario that I've mentioned, yeah. A check here, king f8, yeah.
And then at least you have b5 protecting it with the rook as well.
You might as well, yeah, you might as well keep the b pawn for now, yeah. Rook b8, b5, and then you are threatening king g3. Yeah, you're absolutely right. King to g7. So he is waiting for white to take the h3 pawn, so that b5 will be not possible to protect. Yeah, but you go b5 first. Yeah, exactly. You go b5 first. Now you're threatening.
Then you can just
rook b1 and then king g3. Yeah, you go king g3.
Coming back with the king. Okay. Oh, there's a...
No, he gives a check for some reason. Yeah, well, perhaps makes a lot of sense. Yeah, king h7, and then you go king g3, right? Then you go to g3. Knight f6 check. What's knight f6? I don't quite get... check and check back. Oh, Wesley.
Saving a little bit of time.
I don't know what he does, yeah. I don't know what's the point. I mean, with 3 minutes... That's a little bit. It's a little bit weird what he does, if I'm perfectly honest.
But you play knight h2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to protect the pawn.
Absolutely.
Knight h2 and taking.
I don't know what takes him so much time. I mean, you just, rook c5. You kind of have to, assign roles for your pieces, right? So rook is responsible for protecting the b5 pawn. Then the knight on h2 is responsible for protecting f3 pawn, and then the king eats the pawn. That's it. But what he's doing, I mean, I don't know.
I think he wants his game to be in a book one day. That's why he's going after technique.
But it's not called technique. I mean, okay, he won, but yeah.
Yeah. A big congratulations to Wesley So, who's now confirmed the winner of the third leg of the Grand Prix 2022.
Yeah, and he has all the reasons to regret not being a bit more successful here in Berlin in a tiebreak against Dominguez. I'm talking the first tournament, right? So he was well positioned to win the group, if you remember. He was on +2 in the group in the first tournament. It was Dominguez who came back and kind of won, I believe, 2 last games to equal in points with Wesley, and then to beat Wesley on the tiebreak, because it could easily be that Wesley would have been one of the qualifiers. Okay, so this is it. That's the last game of Grand Prix Series 2022. Was decided with a 1-move blunder.
And as we mentioned, it is a bittersweet moment. I mean, it's been a long tournament. The players and ourselves, we obviously need some rest, but also, I mean, it was a tough fight and exciting chess, and I learned so much. So thank you, Miro.
Well, you're welcome. And it's indeed, as you said, it's time to digest sometimes. Yeah, like I'm thinking, I'm used to doing it, but then having 3 consecutive tournaments. Let's not forget, I was commentating Belgrade as well. Having 3 consecutive tournaments that long in a span of a couple of months was actually tough. Yeah. So
you were actually in Belgrade. That was amazing. Yeah, I watched some of it
thanks,
where
yeah.
I could. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, it was very nice working with you. It was nice to see. Yeah, like at some point it really got exciting, those games. Yeah, and me, yeah, once again, apologies if I was complaining too much about those draws. I really shouldn't. I mean, quick draw means an easy day for us, right? Okay.
Yeah, indeed.
So, congrats. Congrats to the players.
Yeah, congrats. And we're hoping to get a live interview, but I'm not too sure. But if not, this might be our farewell to, well, my farewell to you, Miro, and to chat.
Yeah, let's wait till we get some some update on interviews. Yeah, really, like, congrats to the players. I think Wesley, in fact, yeah, like he got a little bit unlucky on a tiebreak against Dominguez in the first tournament. But that's perhaps the only spot that he deserves criticism, because he has won. He scored +3 overall in classics, not losing a single game. So +3 out of 12, right? So +2 in the first tournament, +1 in the second. He did qualify. He won one of the events. It just happened so that it's not enough. Interestingly, good results were concentrated between 3 players only, in fact, right?
Indeed. But honestly, I learned a lot about like the chess history, and obviously history of some openings being played in different tournaments and stuff like that. It's not just about the games, but I think you learn a lot from chat too, and co-hosts. So I definitely learned so much. So I can go back, play OTB, and be like 2300, of course.
Absolutely. There's no, seriously, I mean, when you touch some of those big tournaments and then, kind of get, not necessarily like you'll remember the exact lines that were played or something, but just get the feel of how the players are thinking. And then sometimes, like, even in interviews, they would explain, the daily routine of preparation, sometimes how they approach this game, that game. Yeah, it really helps. So good luck,
and
Jesse.
I have to tell you, you have to know what I learned the most about snooker.
Snooker. So you've learned that there is such game, right?
No, I knew it existed. I just didn't know it was played at such a high level.
It was very. I mean, it is an interesting game, and even though we are in a chess broadcast, but I think we've done our job, right? I mean, the technical results you can check on the official side. We know that Wesley is the winner of Berlin third tournament. We know Hikaru and Traput qualified for the candidates. And now snooker, I mean, just briefly, let me touch on the subject. I have a specific theory that, like, everyone loves football, right? Everyone loves football. But in my book, it's like one of the, if you think of evolution of what human can do with, so balls involved and human involved, right? Like, I mean, anything, basketball, tennis, and so on and so on. So in my theory, football is on a really low grade. So you have 22 men hunting one ball, basically. And then, like, it goes to basketball, it's a little bit more sophisticated, it's less players, more fine moves with the hands. Then you get to tennis, you get to stuff like this. And the peak of the evolution is obviously snooker, when it's absolutely the opposite situation. You have 22 balls on the table. 22. I mean, it's not, the numbers are not an accident, I believe. 22 balls at the table, and when the player delivers, he's alone, right? I mean, he has the opponent, but it's a turn-based game. So when he is playing, he's alone against 22 balls. And imagine how many fine combinations and so on are available. So really, I know we are on a chess broadcast, but really advocate the game of snooker, I really love it.
I loved it.
Okay, so thanks very much, everybody. Thanks, chat, for keeping us company, and see you someday, sometime. Take care.
Take care.
Hi, I'm Vidit Gujarati. I'm 27 years old, an international chess grandmaster from India. I'm also the brand ambassador for FIDE Online Arena. It's a place where you can play for online rating and online titles which can be recognized by FIDE officially. I feel chess is a sport which can be definitely played online, which other sports don't enjoy the luxury of. And the most important thing is that you can play from the comfort of your home, be it any time, against strong players all around the globe. And since the past 2 years, we have seen a boom in online chess. And be it for professional players or for people who have just started, I think it provides a great opportunity. In the next few months, I'll be streaming and playing games on the FIDE Online Arena. So be a part of it, and who knows, maybe we'll end up playing a game with each other. See you soon on the FIDE Online Arena.
What?